fractured my ankle.
That's so nice color.
Yeah.
Oh, it is pretty.
I had, well, they have all these choices. I said, well, thanks, cast always by definition is not a feminine type. Oh, all right. Well, hopefully it's only about another native to get on here.
Oh, yeah, right from salt, yeah.
Orange dye number 5.
I read an article about you, Brad. I read an article about you.
Oh, yes, they do, but my point was that there's always been part of it. And my point was that we can clarify that those two trips are him and that's not that was my point. No, I totally. Is there a reason
That would be the desire. I agree with that.
I don't know why it's being like that. I need to be getting a lot of advertising for tickets. Really? Oh.
I know.
Yeah, Gucci would be all over that.
The kids were
All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order, please. Everybody ready to rock and roll? Okay. Our first order of business is public comment, and we have Mrs. Mercier here for public comment this afternoon. Mrs. Mercier, if you'd like to.
I'm here because I want to try and see what we all can do to make this place better. Okay? And
Ma'am, if you don't mind coming on up here to the front, just so everybody can hear you and see you, that'd be
right
great.
there?
Yep, that'd be super.
Okay.
There's someone get upset.
I have a little bit of Irish in me, y'all.
That's something you got to do.
One little comment about the board, they stink. Okay?
This isn't a board meeting.
So here's a couple of things, I wanted to mention here. Oh boy, what's on my card? I can have routes. The 75 route I talked to somebody about already that needs to be upgraded quite a bit as far as time, 1 hour between bus times. That needs to get changed. And we need to get it later in the day, past 8 o'clock, because there's a lot of people that go to stores that want to go at night between 7 and 9 p.m. instead of in the middle of the day, especially in the summer. And we need to get that bus stop extended. And people, there's a lot of other bus stops that have 1 hour, 1.5 hour time frames that need to be shortened up to about 30 minutes on each one of those, because they just, people can't stand waiting, especially in the summer in the heat and the rain, and in the winter in the cold air. So that needs to get taken care of. And I was talking to that big brother over there about the time stops these bus drivers do. That needs to get eliminated. He said he's going to check that out. The time stops in the middle of the roads that are very busy, instead of using the malls and the terminals for their time stops, that needs to stop permanently. What else do I have on my little card?
Fairs?
Fairs, this is what I was upset with the board about. There are a number of us that were at that board meeting a little over a month ago, talking about the bus fares. And we were making comments that, especially with the transportation disadvantage MPO fare, that jumped from $8.25 to $11, we were very upset about that rate. And there was one of the board members that said that there are agencies that buy these cards in blocks for some of the people in their agencies, like the homeless shelters and the Salvation Army and people like that. Well, the board did not listen to us. They ran roughshod, raised the rates on us. And I was not happy with that. And that's why I'm saying the board needs to have more civilian people on there instead of politicians, people that will listen to us and take our concerns into consideration. Because that night, they did not listen to us at all. So the rate, the transportation disadvantage MPO has got to go back down. $9 for a card would probably be a little bit more palatable for a lot of people that can afford it. $11, there's a lot of people, especially senior citizens, that have only one income monthly that may not be able to afford the $11 a month. And that has got to change. People need to be listened to. We're not getting listened to. And my husband is a veteran, and he's been trying to get the board to see what they can do about getting special bus cards for veterans and active duty military personnel at special rates for them to use to go to their appointments or go to the store or whatever. These people have served our country for years, and they deserve to be treated like the military veterans that they are, instead of being roughshod, disadvantaged, ignored. So I think if we can do something about bus cards for them, I think they will appreciate you a whole lot better.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Mercier. We appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
But we need to get this place better. I'm looking for PSTA to be at the level of New York City, Detroit, Boston, LA, Chicago, where our transportation is much better, much cleaner, much fairer. Excuse me.
Ma'am, your time is up, but thank you
Thank you.
very much for your
But
comments.
we do need to get it up to that level.
Thank you. Okay, we don't have any more cards, do we, Ms. Terry?
No.
Okay. Awesome. We will move on to our action items then, and I just want to remind everybody that the motions and the votes are exclusive to the members of the track. The alternates, unless they're filling in for a missing member, are here purely from an observational standpoint. Catherine Baranowski is filling in for GW tonight, and otherwise we are ready to move forward with our action items. Did everyone have an opportunity to review the minutes from last month? Can I entertain a motion from the floor to approve the August 18th meeting minutes?
I will do that.
Eugene, thank you. Sunny, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Great, that motion passed. In your packet, you will see a meeting schedule for 2016. Like page 8, looks like in the packet. We are pretty much on the standard schedule that we kept this year. The one thing that I have discussed briefly with Brad, the January 12th or cancel date, we will be holding that January 12th meeting, mainly because we're missing the December meeting. So I really don't want to go 2 months in a row without a meeting. The March 8th meeting, the reason it says or cancel is because we have told you guys we would have 10 meetings a year, and that would make 11, but we will see if there's any reason. We'll deal with that when we get to March, see if there's a reason to go ahead and hold that meeting as well. So if the meeting schedule is okay with you guys, I will entertain a motion as well to approve the 2016 meeting schedule for track. Catherine, thank you. Second? Gloria, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Great, that passes as well. We're rolling right along. The track bylaws are our last action item. They start on page 9. We have just made a few changes mostly apropos to the concept of letting us know if you move and keeping your information updated. The one thing that I have approached, and I'm trying to find it right off the bat, active users of the PSTA system. There has been some misconception, I think, on some of our parts, certainly on mine initially, that we had to be full-time bus riders and not own any kind of alternate form of transportation. And that has been brought to my attention that that is not actually correct, that the expectation on the part of the PSTA is that we do 2 trips a week. Is that correct, Mr. Miller? Is that correct? Yes, okay. That we do 2 trips a week to qualify and stay on track. So the one recommendation that I would make is that under the first yellow highlighted segment on the bylaws, that it say members must be active users of the PSTA system, adding using the bus system for 2 trips per week, just so we can clarify that in the bylaws, because as I understand it, it's not in the bylaws at this point in time. So that would be my only recommended change that we might want to make to the bylaws. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Has everyone had a chance to review? Okay, great.
I did have a question about Article number 6, and that one I didn't know if you were going to go cover it, but you did remove the sending it out at least 7 days before you proposed it to folks, but I'm assuming that in that structure, it looks like we would all have to agree to change things in the first place, so just removing that 7 days, explain to me why you're doing that, though. Why you're taking that out.
Cassandra, can you address that for us?
We looked at what the 7 days, and sometimes the changes come too quickly.
Mhm.
We find to shorten that, but it was not that we wouldn't inform it, that we'd come out with the regular package.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that
That
there was
doesn't-
a stipulant that said you would get a copy and notification of those changes, not necessarily have to be 7 days, because I
Right.
think that's excessive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was just like, oh, that might come in handy one day.
Yeah, it is good to have it to read ahead,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. You-
Okay.
So maybe the entire clause should not be deleted, maybe just the,
Maybe change it to 3 days instead of 7?
I think
or
you
maybe
could
just the number of days,
just say
but in advance.
advance notice.
Yeah.
That way you don't have any
Okay.
siblings, it could be a couple hours, at least before, maybe 5 hours before the meeting.
Provided a copy of the proposed amendments shall have been sent to every member
In advance.
in advance of the meeting,
Yeah.
which there will be available.
But I mean, that advance needs to have a stipulant on it, because it could be a minute before the meeting, and then little people would be upset over that.
That's true.
Not that you would ever do that, but just in case it got crazy demand.
Well, and it's nice, 24 hours in advance.
I like 24
Yep,
hours.
that works good. 24 hours in advance of the meeting.
We do hand deliver those members of the committee that do not have email, we hand deliver their package.
Well, it can
Always
be more
have-
than that, but
We always
she's saying
have
a minimum
an
of.
advance notice, just so you know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying in case another
But
civilian
24
comes
hours,
up and
that'd
wants
be
to
great.
know.
yeah, okay. Great, so, taking into consideration those changes, are there any further changes recommended? After review, all right, do I have a motion to accept the bylaw changes with those stipulations that we have added? Catherine, thank you. Second? Second, Jackson. All in favor? Say aye. Those opposed? Great, thank you very much. All right, moving right along, we have Ms. Cassandra Borchers with the system redesign phase 2 for Williams Park.
As you see, we have a lot going on. Thanks. Good afternoon, thanks. We've been talking a long time about redesigning the system, PSTA, to be more efficient and to serve our customers better. And we've talked about a multi-phase plan to do this. So you've already heard about our Phase 1 redesign. We're looking at the lower performing routes, and we had a robust discussion about that over a couple of months. Now we're moving on to Phase 2, and that is specifically looking at the interaction of the buses in downtown St. Petersburg. So Williams Park, as many of you know, this is a place where people go in downtown St. Petersburg to transfer buses. But it's also used for a lot of other things for the city. It has been used as a bus transfer center for a very long time, almost 60 years, since the 50s, in downtown. But there's also been, almost as equally as long, a desire to move it out of Williams Park for a number of reasons. Some of that is the way that it interacts with the park, and the recreational use, the openness of the park, but also what else is happening in downtown St. Petersburg. And the city really has become a lot more interested in changing the way that the bus interacts with their downtown. So they did look at moving to a new intermodal facility and studied that for a few years. As the changes in what we were doing came about, they changed their ideas too. In the community bus plan, we really started talking about moving from a hub system to a grid system. And the downtown of St. Petersburg really affords us the opportunity to do that. And so in our path forward, in looking at our service redesign, we said this is an opportunity to really change the way that transit works in downtown St. Petersburg. So right now, as you know, all the buses come in, and whether they need to go to Williams Park or not, they must do that. And so what we're looking at is changing to this, which means that more streets will have buses, more access for people who are riding those buses, and a change in the way that people transfer, but equal opportunity to make those transfers. So in looking at route by route, how we go from this hub system to the grid system, we're looking at ways to streamline the routes, but also make sure that they intersect with the routes that have high transfer connections. So this is the Route 4. Right now the Route 4 comes in, it weaves around downtown, and eventually gets to Williams Park, and then goes out of downtown. What we're proposing is to streamline it so it goes directly through downtown, connecting to those other key east-west routes. This is another example of the Route 14, how right now it comes in, goes directly to Williams Park, and what we're suggesting is that it comes a little bit further to the east, and then goes a little bit farther to the north. This allows more coverage on First Street instead of just staying on that 3rd and 4th corridor. So it takes the pressure off some of those streets like First Avenue North, First Avenue South, 4th Street, and 3rd Street, and disperses it around downtown. We have 7 workshops planned to discuss this with the public. We are kicking those off on Saturday at Campbell Park, and we'll have others in downtown and in the South St. Pete area, and I have a list for those of those at the end of the presentation. We've also coordinated all of the outreach that we're planning in this engagement phase with the city and their urban affairs office to make sure that we're getting the word out to people. The other thing that we're going to be asking for in these public workshops is, where would you like to see some new investments in transit? We have some routes that do pretty well that come into Williams Park, and if we're going to put our resources in places that we do things well so that we can do things better, this is our opportunity. We have a very small budget line item in our adopted fiscal year 16 budget that we can do this. And so we're going to be asking people, would you like more evening service, more early morning service, or more weekend service on some of these routes? And so, again, we're focused on downtown right now, so it's really focused on the routes that are coming into downtown St. Petersburg, but we do see that part of this redesign will include improvements. So that will be part of the work that happens after the public engagement. Get that input, again, go back to our data and make sure that those two things fit together and make some choices about where those improvements are. We'll create the schedules, new schedules for these new alignments within downtown, but we really feel that we'll be able to maintain or improve the frequencies by coming into downtown based on how little we're actually changing the routes. So the routes will still be the same until they enter downtown. The last part of this is that public information strategy. So right now we're asking, we're in the engagement phase. As we get closer to our implementation, we'll be telling people what's happening and making sure that we're getting out to all of the people who are riding our system. So this is what our plan is over the next few months, kicking off the public element of this project, giving presentations like this, having our public workshops. In November, we will ask for an endorsement from the City Council and the PSTA Board. And at the beginning of February, you'll start to see some changes in Williams Park, changes in signs, and we'll prepare Williams Park for the first big event for the redesign, which will be Localtopia. And then February 14th will be the new routing. It'll be Sunday, Valentine's Day. We'll be putting out those new routes on that day. A lot of people have been asking about the shelters and what happens to the shelters and the benches. We have our new shelter deployment plan, which I believe that this committee has seen, and we can bring that back to you. So we do have our brand new shelters that we will be putting out in the spring. So we will monitor what happens in February, March, and April, and then start to put out new shelters and new benches and all of the amenities that passengers need in the places where they need them the most all around downtown. This also is in combination with a lot of the investments that the city is making in terms of their bike share and their complete streets. And so all of these programs will work together to make downtown better. These are a list of the other presentations that we've been giving and will be giving. I'll be in downtown St. Petersburg tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Hope to see all of you there. Downtown Business, for Downtown Business Association. And here are our workshops, our 7 workshops, starting on Saturday, as mentioned before. We've really tried to make sure that we have a variety of days, a variety of times, and a variety of locations, so really are giving people the most access to come talk to staff about what the proposal is and what their ride might look like in the future, and then where we want to see those improvements. So with that, I will take your comments and your questions.
Ms. Vivian?
Okay, I was just looking at Route 18, or do we want to wait until we get to 18?
I'm not going to go through all of the routes today.
You
so
if you have buses actually stopping at Williams Park.
we have talked about that. We would have a couple of stops at Williams Park, perhaps, but not too many buses using those stops.
Okay, where will be the time points for buses coming into downtown
Mm-hmm.
where if they're early, they sit and wait? So where will they be sitting and waiting?
We have worked with the city of St. Petersburg to identify other places for those recovery areas. So there'll be maybe 1 or 2 buses in places that the city has approved for us to wait.
Well,
They may not be on the route. They may be just at the end of the general area of the route.
Well, the only reason I was saying, as of right now, PSTA is running late 20% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The average bus is late 20% of the time. That means if you're working, and I'm running a business, I've got an employee that's coming to work late, at least 1 day a week. One of the problems about is making a connection. If you don't have the time points, you don't have any wiggle room. This gives a little bit of wiggle room for the drivers. They get there a little bit early, they can sit and wait. So, and I can name specific routes where my bus is late and I see the smoke of the bus leaving because I couldn't make my connection because the bus was late. And you can't say, well, come a half an hour early or an hour early in order to make a connection. So that's one of the reasons where you've got these time points. And Williams Park, that's why the buses are sitting there, and especially also so the drivers, because as we know, the drivers do not have any scheduled downtime, so they have to run to the bathroom, hopefully at one of the hubs or something like that. They don't have any break time. There's no scheduled break time for drivers. They have to work their shift.
Vivian, that's incorrect.
You're gonna
Each of
tell
our,
me,
that's incorrect, sir, ma'am. I mean, each of the routes has scheduled, as Cassandra just told you, time at the end of the line
okay,
for recovery, we call it. It's also a time for the operator to go and use the restroom, or get something to eat, or whatever.
okay,
That will still exist, but a little bit of change from now. No, they will not all be, that time will not all be sitting there at Williams Park. That'll be in locations. Sometimes we're trying something, it's not new, but it's different. It's a change. We do it over at Tyrone Mall now, where the place where the bus sits and the person and the driver have the opportunity to use facilities may not be on the route. Maybe at a secret location, but we're not going to tell you. It's not secret, but it is not on the route. It is.
It's not a boarding area.
It'll be the end of the line, and the bus driver will say, "Everyone has to get off and go. See ya." And then he goes somewhere else, and then spends his 10 minutes, however he chooses,
well,
and then he
as
comes
I
back
said,
on.
as of right now, I'll use 18 as an example. If for any reason the bus is running late, and I've gotten on 18, I've gotten on 59 where it's late by the first time point. By the first time stop, the bus is running late already. It's standing room only. Okay, that driver, 18 as an example, would not be able to get off the bus. Well, we've got Largo Mall. Hopefully, he's running early. That driver would not be able to get off the bus from the time he left downtown Clearwater until he got to downtown Williams Park.
That bus goes through Grand Central.
Not mine.
The 18 goes to whatever it's called, it's your Seminole Mall, Largo Mall, Seminole Mall.
Well, of course,
Wait,
Seminole Mall
Tyrone.
doesn't exist anymore.
That's right.
Tyrone?
That used to be known as Seminole Mall.
But as I said, there
That
are
starts
times
the site.
when the drivers do not get a scheduled break. They can hope that they get a break. Can they hope they're running a little
If the
early?
bus is running late, that is correct. If the bus is running late, they may not have 10 minutes. They may have less time.
As I said, most
We-
of these, it looks good, but as I said, it looks like you're still going to be having an awful lot of bus stops. You're going to have people getting off and on at Williams Park.
Cassandra, did you have something to add?
We are looking at all of the schedules for all of these routes. Our new scheduling manager has some really great ideas about how we can make the schedules better, and we are working with the city of St. Petersburg to ensure that all of the drivers have access to places for rest activities. So, and those may be some places in other city facilities that we don't own, but the city does. So, that has been a big consideration as we start to look at these routes. It has not lost on us the needs of the operators.
And as I said, a lot of the things about Williams Park, if you have to wait on a bus, you've got a place to wait. You're not standing on a street corner with no shelter. I know you're going to put shelters there in the spring after the rains have started, but you won't know, nobody else is going to know where the shelters are going to be. And if you're talking about people having to cross 6 lanes of traffic to make a connection on the bus, it's going to be rough. As I say, there's a lot of good points about this. Somebody also needs to be thinking about solving problems before they rear their ugly little heads.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Vivian. Anybody else? Carson?
Do you know if they plan to keep the dedicated bus lane on 4th Street after the route? There's so many buses that come, they're going to keep that?
No, the contraflow lane,
Yeah.
then we would remove the contraflow lane.
Cool.
Although, the city of St. Petersburg is talking about actually keeping that curb that separates the northbound lane of buses in place, they told me,
For food trucks?
for food trucks.
But no, as a traffic, used for traffic, the contraflow lane will be removed.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
And it's like we're waiting on Mr. Miller.
You know, Vivian, I just love you so much that I was just talking to you about her. Just kidding. Okay, PSDA has a exciting idea for a pilot project up in Eastlake. Do any of you live in Eastlake? You live close. As you know, as you might recall, PSCA eliminated the Eastlake Connector bus service, the only bus service in Eastlake, a week ago. It no longer operates. Eastlake is the largest neighborhood in Pinellas County now without any bus service. That's why we are proposing this pilot program. I'm going to talk about that, talk about what our proposal is, and our recommendations. Here's a map of Eastlake, where it is, up in northern Pinellas County. What we're proposing to do, again, there is no bus service in this blue shaded area, which is estimated to have about 30,000 residents. But we committed to you, the track committee, and to the PSCA board when we laid out our recommendations for eliminating the lowest performing routes, of which the board approved back in August, eliminating the Eastlake Connector, which was one of the lowest ridership routes in the system, to look at alternatives for folks that were affected. And this is what we have come up with as our proposal. A three-tiered approach using other transportation providers like taxi cabs and transportation network companies, TNCs. Does anyone know what a TNC is?
Uber.
Uber.
Oh, really?
Right. There's other TNCs, Lyft, Bridge. I don't know if Bridge offers. There's probably many I don't know of.
There's a new one.
Anyone?
Like crowd riders.
Okay. So the baseline, option A, for customers in Eastlake exists today. It is a taxi service that we call, and is on our website, known as the Eastlake Shuttle. The Eastlake Shuttle is a taxi that you make a reservation for the day before. And you can do this today in Eastlake. The taxi costs you, the customer, the same price as the bus fare, $2.25, and you can catch it from anywhere in Eastlake to one of two locations where you can catch the regular PSCA bus. Shops at Boot Ranch, down here by Oldsmar, or the Tarpon Mall, which is right on US 19 where the Publix is there in Tarpon Springs. That's the Route 19 goes there, the Eastlake, the Oldsmar connector and the 62 connect to the shops at Boot Ranch. The idea is to provide this first mile or last mile connection for folks in Eastlake to catch these other PSTA services. So option A is the same cost as a bus, it's just with a taxi cab, and you have to make the reservation the day before for it to come pick you up. It operates in the reverse direction as well. So if you take the bus to Boot Ranch, then you can catch the Eastlake Shuttle with a reservation back. The pluses are that the fare is the same as the bus fare. The negative is you have to reserve it the day before. And we have received, or when we were out talking to the public, when we were getting input on eliminating the route, we heard some negative comments about the availability of this service or the timeliness of the cab coming to pick you up when you were in this area, which we have been focused on working with our contractor, Clearwater Yellow Cab, and they have promised to make some improvements. They have made improvements, but we looked at what other alternatives might exist. Option B is different than option A in that it is provided by Uber or another TNC, but we've been talking with Uber specifically. You can do the same thing that the East Lake Shuttle does, but by using Uber on your app, you can do it right away. How many of you have used Uber? Okay. How many of you have heard of Uber? Okay. So Uber is a service, is a company that provides a app on your phone. On a smartphone, you can download the Uber app, and you put in your credit card information into the app, and just by pressing the button and pressing the button on Uber, you can get a car to come pick you up and take you where you want to go. And you don't have to pay the driver any money because your credit card is automatically billed, and the driver gets paid by Uber. And it's a incredibly fast-growing service all over the country. Uber trips are provided by citizens who use their own car to provide the transportation, and they sign up and they provide the Uber trips through an app just like the rider does, and they on their phone they figure out where you're standing and they come pick you up, and they get paid. They get paid through the app right to their bank account. PSTA will partner with Uber or any other transportation network company to provide a subsidy or a buy down of the price of that trip of up to $3. Uber has told us that the average Uber ride in Eastlake from anywhere in the Blue area to either the Tarpon Mall or Shops at Boot Ranch right now, based on all of their Uber trips, has been $7. $7 to those locations. So PSA will provide up to $3 of discount on that $7 ride, making the cost to the rider $4. So it's still more, it's a little bit more than the $2.25. It would be approximately $4, but you can get it real time. If you call for an Uber ride, it usually comes within 10 minutes. Someone will come pick you up in 10 minutes. So the pluses are, if this is real time, for $4 you can get connections to the PSTA bus at Boot Ranch or Tarpon Mall. The negatives for some of our customers are you need to have a smartphone and you need to have a credit card, which many riders do not have, one or both of those items. So, but there is no way that through Uber or through Lyft you're not able to pay the driver cash. They don't want you to do that. It's all through the system, right? Option C, which we will also provide, is essentially the same thing, but with a taxi cab. We have been in discussions with both United Cab, which is in Clearwater, and Clearwater Yellow Cab, to provide the same sort of service that Uber provides. They also provide. They have an app. Each of those companies have their own apps, which you can pay by credit card, or you can dial, like you normally do, you can dial the cab, the number, and reserve, and get a real-time, ask for a cab right now. And they'll come, usually in about 10 or 15 minutes, to Eastlake. They will come, at least that's on their app, they will. It is probably not as real-time as Uber, but it is it's another option. The positive with a taxi cab is you can pay cash. You can also, you don't need a smartphone. You can dial their number. You can use their app, or you can dial their number directly and talk to a live human. And you can pay cash to the driver. The downside with a cab is that it costs more than Uber. It costs about double what Uber costs. The average price of a trip the cabs have told us in Eastlake to these two locations is approximately $12 to $14 for a cab ride. Cabs are more expensive almost everywhere than Uber is. But you can pay cash. You cannot pay cash to Uber. So with a $3 discount the PSA will provide, the cab ride would be $9 on average to connect to a PSA bus. So there are different options that the customers can choose from. Why did we pick Eastlake for this? Because this is where we no longer have any bus service. We have bus service in almost all other parts of Pinellas County, at least some level of bus service, not enough, as we heard from our customers. But this is the one area we have no bus service. And we promised you, the riders and the board, that we would look at alternatives, and so this is our alternative. We are saving some $400,000 by not operating this very inefficient bus that hardly anyone was riding. And this pilot program, all three of these options, with the cabs and with the transportation network companies, is estimated at most to cost us $40,000. For many folks, maybe you've probably heard that Uber, or this whole idea of transportation network companies, is controversial or is being debated across the country in cities. Some cities are banning Uber. You know, the taxi cab industry is very concerned that Uber is taking over their business, and taxi cab drivers are complaining. And so I have been asked these questions about whether this is fair, whether PSTA is being fair and equitable and providing a good quality alternative transportation. What PSTA can control, PSTA is controlling to make sure that we offer the same, or we have the same requirements on taxis as we do on these transportation network companies. We're going to sign the same contract with the transportation network companies that we're going to sign with the cab companies to provide this alternative. There are questions that you'll read about. Just Google Uber and you'll read all about this across the country. There are questions about the insurance that they have, that they offer to their drivers. There's questions about the background checks that Uber had their drivers go through versus the ones that the cabs go through, and what other kinds of reporting requirements different companies have. PSTA will offer a level playing field. Now, what I cannot control is the laws that are out there in Pinellas County and in Florida, and just the way the services work. They don't work exactly the same way. So, taxi cab companies have a different kind of insurance than Uber has, because a taxi cab is a company that owns the vehicles, and so they have a type of insurance that is sort of like a standard kind of insurance that operates 24/7. It covers the cab company 24/7. Uber are individual citizens that they claim are not their employees, although that's debated. And so they might work for PSTA, or maybe some of your Uber drivers, I wouldn't even know, and you have your own regular job, and then you are an Uber driver on your spare time. And you might have a car, and you might drive it for your own personal use to and from work, and then to make extra money, you sign up for Uber and drive your car for Uber. The Uber insurance only covers when you're driving for Uber. It doesn't cover your car insurance when you're driving to your other job. So it's different in that respect. Uber is all online. It's an app. So Uber drivers go through an extensive background check online, and a driving check, etc. But there's no way online for them to do a fingerprinting, a level 2 background check. Pinellas County and PSTA does not have a requirement to do a fingerprint background check either, and so we would not require that of either the cab or Uber. They both would comply. But the city of St. Petersburg does have that requirement for cab companies only. Cab companies that operate in St. Petersburg must have their drivers get a fingerprint background check done by the St. Pete Police Department. And they're the only city in Pinellas County that enforces that requirement. And so all the cab companies that operate in Pinellas County, since most of the demand for taxi cab trips is in St. Petersburg, they have all their drivers get a level 2 background check through St. Pete. So the cab companies operating in Eastlake would have a different background check than Uber, but they would both meet PSTA's requirement. This is a very exciting project and idea for PSTA. You know, if you've read about Uber or learned about these different alternatives, these different apps, the way our smartphone is taking over the world and is changing the way we communicate, PSTA, at least in my recommendation, needs to be aware of this and participate in these different types of transportation alternatives. Not every single place in Pinellas County, or even into the future, will a big blue PSTA bus be the right transportation for that area. We tried to operate an innovative flex route service in Eastlake, and the demand was just not there to support it. And it is certainly something that PSTA is accustomed to doing, being innovative. We were the first transit system in Florida to have the real-time bus information on all of our buses. First transit system in Florida to have Wi-Fi on all of our buses. We have constantly been looking at ways of being more efficient, innovative, and basically a leader in providing transportation alternatives for our community. So I think this is a very great proposal to test out. If it works, awesome. We'll hopefully expand it to other areas. If it doesn't work for some reason, which I think it will work, but if it doesn't, we can make changes to it, or maybe not do it, and see what the next app that comes down the line, or cab thing comes down the line, and try that. So hopefully the PSTA board will support it, and you will, as track committee, will weigh in on this idea. You know, I've had questions, well, why can't we do this in other areas like Clearwater or St. Pete? So this is a pilot in Eastlake because that area doesn't have any bus service. We'll see how it goes, and then maybe modify it in whatever way, and then try it out in, say, Clearwater Beach, where we already do have some service, but other demand, or Pinellas Park, or St. Pete, or someplace like that. Are there any questions?
What hours is this going to run?
It would 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The discount on the taxis, and option B or option C would be till 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday is what the shuttle. Monday through Saturday.
And you had one other comment. PSTA will continue to provide wheelchair accessible van service. So is Uber or whatever company, are they going to have electric wheelchair vans?
They likely not.
Okay.
But PSTA has also talked with our DART provider Care Ride about providing trips in this zone. So for folks
At the $2.25 fare or at dark rates?
at dark,
Paratransit rates.
at the 225? At the 225.
In other words,
I'm sorry, what? Rob, jump in.
Sure.
Care Ride is gonna do $2.25.
So,
Right.
let me clarify. So first is that right now, you can get a $2.25 ride in the East Lake Shuttle today. You have been able to do that for a long time with Care Ride. Mississippi County Yellow Cab, same thing. PSTA covers the remainder of the cost. On proposals 2 and 3, I believe the idea is that you would pay you would pay whatever the equivalent, I think we're saying, the $3 with the passenger portion is, right, initially? But we subsidize 3.
We subsidize, right?
We subsidize 3, and then the passenger pays whatever we haven't worked out the details with Care Ride, but I was envisioning that the passenger would pay whatever the average is that the ambulatory passenger would pay for the same service.
Okay, yeah.
I was talking with Mr. Jolly the other day, and,
The congressman?
yeah, and what's going on with Uber. And this was basically in Washington, but we also mildly discussed Tallahassee. And I understand in Tallahassee, they may put it off for another year, but, you know, they are looking into, shall we say, regulation. Now, I assume if they come down with something, that PSTA will have to follow
Yeah.
state guidelines, and if the feds come down with something, they'll have to follow fed laws. But, as I said, it was very interesting. I won't repeat what he told me, except that it was negative, his experience.
Yes.
So, some good, some bad. But, my
Thank you,
problem
Vivian.
with Uber is, and I know what Mr. Zinnett said, that, you know, you would be exempt, but believe me, a smart lawyer, Morgan and Morgan will end up owning PSTA if there's a major problem with the Uber transport.
Okay, thank you. I just want to know about the protection for the Uber drivers. How are you guys going to encourage the usage from Eastlake to be respectful of the Uber drivers? Since I really like Uber and I don't want them to leave Pinellas and people to stop being encouraged to be Uber drivers. So how are we using the code of conduct for our people like myself, when I get into Uber, to respect the driver as well? Because honestly, you're able to get away with certain things on a bus that you can't necessarily do in someone else's car. So are we giving them some guidelines that say, hey, this is what your passenger should be doing, or are you just leaving that as a regular contract with Uber and their own resources that they have? Does that make sense? Did I word that okay?
I think I understand your question, and,
I don't want to see the Uber drivers maybe get upset with Eastlake and stop going there because they're not happy with how the citizens are treating their services and
right,
they lose
and
out
I
on
don't
the
either.
contract.
Although, my understanding right now is that Uber already has sort of their own policy where if a driver complains about a Uber passenger, they discontinue their ability to use Uber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just make sure that works.
And maybe in certain areas that, I don't know, maybe you know this, the drivers of Uber go away from that area.
Yeah, they'll stop turning on their services. You can have the app and you can log out of it during certain areas of town, and then you can turn it back on. So,
Again, we're not, you know,
I
this
think
is
it's great,
an
no.
alternative to connect to the other bus service that ends at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
You know,
I
this is
think
what
it's a
our
great
discussion
thing.
with
It's
the
very
cabs
cutting
and
edge.
Uber is the number one demand for this is after 7 p.m. on the weekends in downtown St. Petersburg. That is cab and Uber territory. This is an alternative to bus service.
I think it's great. I was just curious about that aspect of it.
That's a good question.
Brad, how does a rider identify if it's they are using this particular service to reach a bus stop, so that the driver knows to apply these fares? How does that work?
So, with both the taxi apps and Uber app, and, I mean, to be honest, we've spoken to Uber, we have not, we would be open to doing the same thing, and I would imagine it's possible on Lyft or something else, but who knows? But it'll be right on the app. If you state that your destination is the Shops at Boot Ranch or Tarpon Mall, it will automatically tell you the price.
Oh, okay.
I think the way on Uber, it has a little slider that it says PSTA,
Okay.
and then it'll compute the cost automatically.
Eugene?
Aren't those Uber drivers required to have a car that's less than 3 years old?
2000 or newer.
2000.
The year has to be 2000 or newer.
Oh, that old.
I thought it was 2009.
Oh, it's what? I think it was 2000.
I thought it was 3 years.
Okay.
Nope.
We can find out. I know an Uber driver.
I have a couple questions. My group was actually talking about this. We saw the meeting guys have with Bella and Jolly. And I have a couple questions that were asked to people in my group were, one, would people be able to travel from one part of East Lake to another with this? So it would just be for like shuttle purposes?
I mean, you can do that on Uber.
But you wouldn't get the subsidy?
Right.
Okay.
You only get the discount if you go to
Bus
the
stop.
2 PSBA bus stops.
Okay. So, and,
Sorry.
That is my second question.
Anyone
Okay.
else?
I think it's great. Thank you for having an alternative.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see this for these like people. I mean, this is plenty of opportunity for them to get around.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Looks like next we have driver training with Jeff. Well, it says, I know, that's why I was like, it's Jeff, that's what it says on here, I thought that's not what I heard, but.
Good evening, everybody from
What I had read for the
That's right.
requirements.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Ross. I'm the Superintendent of Safety, Security, and Training at PSDA. And due to what you have been requesting to hear about what we do here, for the next few minutes, I'm going to explain to you exactly what we do when we hire troop operators to come here.
Hear over here.
Mike, if you'd excuse me for a minute. Ma'am, we're trained to hear a presentation at this moment, Mr. Wallace, thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. I was asked to come up here because under your request, you wanted to know what's going on. And I'm going to explain to you what we do with new hire trainees that come into PSDA. It's going to be a brief explanation. This is a new operator there, actually in training out in the parking lot in the class that we have going right now. The first thing I want you to know is it's an 8-week new operator training class, and this is a breakdown of what we do. It's not written in stone the way it goes, but in the beginning we do 10 days of CDL, which is commercial driver license preparation and testing. 3 of the instructors here are CDL testers for the state of Florida. So not only do we put them through it, I don't care if you come in with a license or not, everybody goes through it, because we want to make sure that you drive the way PSK wants you to drive. So that takes about 80 hours worth of preparation and testing. The next part is 12 days of classroom work. That's lecturing and hands-on and PowerPoint presentations about the laws, defensive driving, emergency management, customer service, and so on and so forth. Then we go into 12 days of on-the-road training. There can be anywhere up to 3 to 4 instructors out there with them in the road, depending how many trainees we have. Because every trainee will get a minimum of 15 hours of driving time on the road beyond the yard work, which I'll show you in a minute, with the certified instructor. After that, we have 5 days. The course is 8 weeks long, so in the 8th week, the trainee will go out with a senior operator for the entire week on a run. The operator is there to make sure that he understands everything else, including the fare structure, customer service, And throughout that whole 8 weeks, we're evaluating the trainee. A typical class, we will lose a few trainees throughout the class that just don't cut it, because our standards here at PSD are pretty high. We want our drivers to be the best that they can be. The last one day is Semper Gumby. We have that throughout the whole 40-day process. And Semper Gumby, in case anybody doesn't know what that means, if you're familiar with the Marine Corps statement, Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful, we're always flexible. You remember the little guy Gumby? Well, we have to be very flexible in here because, you know, weather and so on and so forth. Different things are good for some. Okay, as far as the training of the instructors, I'm the superintendent. My senior supervisors, Theo Bachman-Hollis, and I have Eddie Tester, AJ, who's standing in the background there. He's one of my other instructors. We're all seasoned, certified instructors. And then we're lucky enough to have Tamika White, who's our training and engagement specialist, who covers customer service, and she puts on a real good course on customer service, which takes 8 to 16 hours. Okay, this out here is what we do out in the parking lot there. You notice there's cones all out there, and I know they don't really do it out in the real world, but we want to know that they can handle that bus by doing precision driving, where they have backed up in cones, driving through a serpentine course, and so it's a precision driving out there that they have to learn in the parking lot before we go on the road with them. Okay, some of the certifications that the staff has, myself and my supervisors, this is just to go through a few of them. We're all certified by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Federal Transit Administration, Transportation Safety Institute, FDOT, which is Florida's DOT, National Transit Institute, and then the Transit Cooperative Research Program. We're also all TSI, which is Transportation Safety Institute, certified instructors. The TSI is the federal government agency governing all transit throughout the country. We all are certified with emergency management, fatigue awareness. All of us have to be certified with ADA, alcohol and substance abuse, to be able to teach it and recognize it. Okay, this is in the classroom. The gentleman you see up there is Theo Bachman-Hollis. He's my senior instructor. He's the main instructor. In fact, right now he's out on the road with Eddie Kester, and we have 9 students right now that are out driving through the county learning how to drive. Okay, some of the classroom items that we cover while we're in there. TSI vehicle operations. That's a defensive driving course that's recognized by the federal government. It's anywhere up to a 16-hour course of classroom, lecture, and on-the-road training where we teach the operator everything they need to know about driving a 40-foot bus. ADA, that's a real important one there. We not only have classroom lecture on that, but we actually go out into the parking lot, and for 8 hours in one day, we practice things like actually putting the trainee into a wheelchair or mobility device, and then another trainee will board them onto the bus, teach them how to hook them in. So it does 2 things. One is to make sure that the operator knows how to get somebody in a wheelchair secured on the bus, but they're also sitting in a wheelchair and they understand what it's like to be in one. I know they can get up and walk away, but especially on an MCI, when they go up to the ramp the first time, they realize what the passenger's going through. Other things that we cover in there is distracted driving, fatigue awareness, verbal de-escalation. That's where we try to make sure that the operator knows how to deal with any kind of situation that comes at them. We teach them how to watch what their body language is, and we hope it works all the time, because that's what we do with a lot of people in class where they sell stuff. Dispute resolution, fare box handling, security, see something, say something. If they see a security issue out there, they're taught what to do, how to handle it, and who to report it to. If they're involved, and hopefully it never happens, but if they're involved in a collision, if anybody's been on a bus where that's happened, you'll see that the operators usually handle it with ease, and they know what to do because they've been trained what to do in a situation like that. Okay, this out here again is the maneuvering out there in the parking lot. We spend, like I said, in the parking lot, we spend a whole week out there just teaching them how to maneuver around the parking lot to do precision driving. And this one right here, you'll probably see some of them out there right now. This was the last class we graduated on 9/18/2015. There was 12 of them in the class, and they're doing great out there. Some are on the active board, and I'm hoping that they fit right in. You don't recognize them as rookie, because by the time we're done with them, we're hoping they're that good. So at that time, does anybody have any questions for me? No questions?
Eugene?
Yeah, I've raised this question before. After they're trained, and they're out there for a while, I think some of your drivers forget that they're people persons. And I'm wondering if there's any kind of a follow-up for that kind of a situation in your program.
Yes, we have several different things that we do. Number one, my supervisors or transportation supervisors supervises the operators periodically. If we find out that a driver is running into that kind of pattern you're talking about, we have a young lady named Nancy, and I never pronounce her last name there, so Paradella. She is a consultant, she'll bring them in, and she will counsel them on what's going on out there, a behavioral specialist, and that we try to work it out that way. Tamika White will also work with them, and then we have refresher courses every year.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Looks like our last presentation is Cindy Raskin-Schmidt with the customer service results. And I have to apologize because I have to leave, so can you? Sorry about that.
Good evening. I am Cindy Raskin-Schmidt. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing here at PSTA. I'm going to talk to you today about the ABBG Customer Satisfaction Survey results. So PSTA is a member of the American Bus Benchmarking Group. This is a group of transit agencies across the country that compare data on hundreds of different data points. This particular survey is done annually, mid-April to mid-May. It includes 26 standardized questions that are asked across all the transit agencies the exact same way, so we're able to compare our results. So I'm going to share just a few of the results from this year's survey. First of all, this is really exciting. We had 4,700 responses to our survey this year. Last year we had about 300. Attribute a lot of this to having links on our website and having sent a text to our real-time bus information users, so people were able to jump right on and participate in the survey. We did so great. Our first week of responses, we had more than any other transit agency had over 4 weeks. So this is a huge response. We're really excited that the riders, you all included, participated in this. So these are some great results of what you all think about the service that we're providing. Here's some demographic information about the riders that participated in the survey. 57% female, 43% male. A really good mix of ages. 78% say that they ride often or very often, and 56% of the people who responded to the survey mostly use transit to go to work. This first slide is, the question is, how satisfied are you overall with the bus service in the city, in our situation, it's the whole system. Remember, the question is asked exactly the same way everywhere. So you can see where we're circled there, St. Pete. You can see that we've been really consistent in our responses over the past 3 years that we've participated in this program. Now these other bars are the other transit systems. We have all of their information removed because it is confidential, so we just share our information with you. This slide shows you all the different service items that we asked about in the survey. It's a little small here, so I can just read a couple of them. Driver appearance, safety on the bus, driver helpfulness. You can see the green line is the overall satisfaction score. You can see it's really good right there. Pretty close to 4 out of 5 in satisfaction. And the red line shows the average. All the stuff on the left of the green, we're doing really great. All the stuff to the right of the green isn't quite the average, but it's still very high. Over 3 points for every single one that's listed. Now this is a 3-year comparison. So the lightest blue line is from 2013, the middle line is from last year, and then the dark line is from this year. And you can see it's pretty consistent results all the way across. These 3 in particular, driver helpfulness, resolving problems, seat availability, and vehicle cleanliness, are all things that are on the rise. We contribute this to things like better customer service training. We did add bus cleaners this year to help improve the cleanliness of the buses. Customer service training, and having more information available, having the real-time information that the customer service representative can access to help people when they call with questions, improves those scores as well. We did go down in a couple of areas. General information, which is basically how do you get information about the agency and how easy it is to get that. And the other one was pollution reduction. We know that we're looking to replace some of our older buses. So as we replace those older buses with the newer hybrids, the better technology, that number we expect to go up over time and improve as opposed to going down. This is a peer comparison example showing our scores versus some other agency scores. And you can see this particular question is, how easy is it to find out if the buses are running on schedule? And you can see that we're head and tails above everybody else. This is absolutely the best response out of all of these, and this is real-time bus information. And we're really great to have that particular service available for our customers so you can find out where the bus is and when it will be here. Now here's another one too where the customer's perception about punctuality and whether or not the bus runs on time. So you can see our blue line is right about average at 3.5. So overall, the conclusion that I would make overall is that overall passengers are very happy with the service that we're providing. And we're very, very responsive to helping us out when we ask the survey. Now I'm going to tell you that we are working on some driver customer service training over the next couple of months, and we'll be doing a really similar survey to kind of gauge and see how that customer service training is working. So we're really excited to see how those results are going to come out as well. So who's your chair now that Elaine goes to Brad? Okay, so I'll throw it out to the committee for questions.
I know you can tell us exactly who are some of the comparative cities that you use this.
Are we allowed to mention who the cities are?
Okay, you're not pointing it out.
Yeah, no, some of the other cities are,
Salt Lake
Salt Lake City.
Cleveland, Orlando,
Okay.
Austin, Texas.
So the comparison
Buffalo.
is size from years. Okay.
yeah, similarly sized, similar demographic areas. Yes, ma'am.
And the demographics of the people that responded to the survey, did that reflect the demographics that we know are the demographics of our ridership?
Yes, it was actually really very accurate, and across all the transit systems that responded, it was pretty similar across all the areas. Okay.
Did any of you fill it out?
Did everybody fill it out?
They do a really good job of making sure that you're not lying and that you are a regular rider. And they cancel out a lot of surveys that people, like they cancel out any PSA employee that fills it out and other things like that too. But you guys can fill it out.
Well, this is different. This is all online. So you would have had to go online and fill out the application. It's like a survey monkey tool. So it was on our website. You would have been able to find it on the website banner. It went out through our email, if you're on our email list, and it went out through real time. We might have put a notice on the bus. I don't remember now because it was back in April that happened. So when we have that out again, we'll reach people by the same channel.
So basically, you have to be online now.
For this particular survey, yes.
I mean, the whole world does not have a computer.
No,
That
everyone
comes as a great shock to somebody.
No, you're right.
Everyone has access to it.
And the library.
Everyone has access to a computer.
I don't. I don't have one in my house.
I'll show you how to get on.
I could go to the library and maybe get one.
All right, so we are now past your meeting time, 5:15. So if you don't have any other questions, I'll be glad to pass it over to Brad to wrap you all up. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, is there anything else, any other business of the track committee that anyone would like to raise? Are you sure? Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming. The next meeting is pre-Thanksgiving on November 17th. See you there. Gobble gobble.
That will be
Happy
the last-
Halloween.
That will be the last meeting for some of us.
It will?
Not the-
That's true.
I am not, okay,
Terry,
in order for.
will the November 17th be the last meeting for some track members? Yes, it will be. Okay.
I can't. They're here and they look like they work.
We'll have a farewell party.
I have tried every mouse. I have tried.
I'm not studying this game.
And
No, that's the only system. Good day. Very good for a lot of stuff. Some farms for specific things.
I really think you should look a little bit more into that.
Oh, I have.
It's advanced so much
No idea.
different than last year.
I cannot, raise my hand.
Functionality issues, but it's available for you. You know, you can get it, it's gonna be
That's true. That's why we're offering the same price as the bus. Same price as the bus.
No. Yeah, yeah, I think Russian bus, but the other two options are a little bit more than the $2.45. Got one that's $4, got one that's $9.
True, but they're better. They're much better.
Actually, Ryan, it's constant, $2.45 in the taxi cab, and it fills it up. Depending on how far you gotta go to get in store or whatever. That's not gonna serve those people very well, especially the low income.
Well,
You need to start taking consideration of people's income levels across the board. Not everybody can afford that.
and, I mean, I agree with your comment, but, you know, I'm not a